And I'm interested to get Tommy Greene's take on some of the things he witnessed over the first half and some of the things he's looking forward to seeing there, what he needs to see or wants to see in the second half. Specifically, last night, Eickhoff, he was a guy coming into the season. You thought maybe he's not your best guy, but maybe he's your most consistent guy.
Remember how long he didn't have a win? He was like 0-7 for he was the only guy in the big leagues that had 7 losses that late in the season. I know he was a little banged up, but come on. I mean, get it right.
I'll tell you, is he a guy that, last year there was a lot of expectation, not ace, but maybe consistency. Are we starting to worry about that a little bit? We'll talk about that. Nola. We see Nick Williams over our shoulder on Comcast Sportsnet, which is where you'll see Tommy Greene tonight. He'll be a part of Sixers pre and post, and he joins us now on 97.3 ESPN. Tommy, welcome back. How are you?
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be with you.
It's nice to have you here as this Phillies team we know struggling along. And first off, what's it like to be on one of these teams now where obviously the playoffs aren't in the future for this year's team this year. So what's the second half? What are some of the things players mentally try to do in seasons like this when they know the season's kind of lost?
Obviously, everybody, wants to keep their job. That's what they want to do. So what they're trying to do is go about their business and be as consistent as they possibly can be. That's what they're striving to be. And that's the key to staying here. They got the talent to be here. It's all about being consistent and repeating the things they do that make them, why they got here well. That's what they want to do. So, I was a part of some teams that struggled, and, you take pride in yourself and you go about there, you try to give your effort out there every day you get the opportunity, especially for myself as a starting pitcher. You're trying to take it every fifth day and be as consistent as you can to give your team a chance to win. And that's what you're trying to do.
Tommy Greene's with us here. Last night, I want to get your take on a guy like Eickhoff, who, come into the season, we saw this guy, wow, they might have found a guy from Texas in that Hamels deal that you weren't expecting, pitch really well. He was consistent last year. He seemed like he always gave you a quality effort, a quality start. What's been the difference with him this year, and are you concerned that maybe he's not the guy that we were hoping he was?
Well, obviously he has to be. He's the type of pitcher for stuff-wise, he's not going to blow you away with stuff, say to speak, velocity-wise or something like that. So he has to. His location is a big factor with him. He has to be consistent and work ahead in counts. If he falls behind. Last night he lived a little more dangerously than it really showed, even though he gave up the home runs like he did because he ended up walking guys, and when you start doing that and falling behind guys, the 2-run homers, which kill you like it did last night, come into play. And I think that's been one of the biggest factor was him is the inconsistency with his fastball, which dictates a little bit into his curveball where he starts it at, because the curveball, is his finish off pitch. But if he's not commanding the heater, it's hard to get that curveball card. If you're getting it called for a strike, that means you're hanging it up in the zone a lot more than not. That's my little bit of beef with him. I think he keys off his fastball. He's got to command his fastball more than anything.
Yeah, he gave up 5 earned runs over 6 last night. He's 1-7 with a 4.83 ERA, but really it's that whip too, Tommy, 1.52, which means he's not commanding very well at all because he's putting guys on base with the 4 walks.
Yeah, and when you start putting guys on base by walk, which I had my fair share of them, but you start giving away the freebies, you're putting yourself in situations where you can have big innings and things can get out of control in a hurry. And that's sort of what happened. You look back at his outing last night, he kind of danced with the devil a little bit with the walks, but he made 3 mistakes and all 3 of them got hammered, so to speak, over the dish, and those were your runs he gave up. And say to speak, for the most part. And we were that close to winning the ball game. Just that one mistake pitch away.
Tommy Greene's with us, and how about tonight's pitcher, Tommy, Vince Velasquez? There's so much talk about, is he a starter or is he a bullpen guy? He has good stuff. What do you see from him, and what role do you think he belongs in?
Well, I think right now, we have to see if he can really be that starter. The big thing is going to be the health-wise, and that might dictate dictate everything. Can he hold up as far as that's concerned to a starter's rigor, throughout the game? And I mean, I just think what he needs, just by what you see him do, is not press so much out there on the mound. Sometimes I think he tries to outthink himself a little too much, because he does have the quality stuff to be that 1-2 guy in the rotation, if you're going to put a number on him for stuff-wise. But for him to be consistent, he has to. It's just like Eickhoff. He's got to command you got to command what you do. That's what makes you a number one, number two, so to speak. If you're a ranking guy, you have to be consistent with your all-speed stuff and work ahead in counts. I mean, because you just can't throw fastballs all the time. Unlike, he gets away with a lot of stuff because he gets a lot of swings and misses with his fastball because of the type of fastball that he has. But I mean, if you don't have the other stuff to go along with it, sooner or later it bites you.
We're talking with Tommy Greene, former Phillies pitcher, and if Velasquez struggles over the second half, Tommy, do you put him in the pen spring next year? Maybe do you put him and see if he comes back with better command? I mean, there's a lot of questions about Velasquez, and how would you use him then moving forward?
Well, I mean, you probably hit it right on the head. They got to see what they got, and this is the years, right here. They're going through. They were hoping it was going to be a little bit better than it was. They were going to creep more towards the 500 level, rather less than going back the other way. But this is what this year in the second half is about. A lot is about seeing these young guys.
Yeah.
Do they start turning in the right direction and going that way? Because if not, they're going to have to start, seeing what. I mean, do they pull from what they got? There are some guys ready to come up, a couple of guys ready to take some spots, and then maybe with the type of stuff he's got, he can pitch out of the pen. Do they want him to do that? That's going to dictate on how he does the rest of this season. Can he stay and take his turn in the rotation and stay healthy and hopefully keep building in the right direction? Because I mean, guys got quality stuff. If the game's not, I mean, it's easy for us to sit back in the armchair, and I'm being an ex-player, I'm guilty of it too, and say, this is the way it needs to be done and this is the way it needs to be played. But the game is very difficult to play, and the guys are out there trying to give their effort. And sometimes when you get going down the wrong path, it's hard to try to get the ship, corrected. And sometimes they go through a rough patch, and even the best have some years where they struggle, and then they come back and they really learn from that and they use it and move forward, and it really helps them. So it's going to be a wait-and-see game with some of these young guys and see if they do turn that corner. And it's sort of fun to see that on this side of it a little bit. You get to see the young guys play and see what they got. The guys you were hearing a lot about, see if they can do it. Sooner or later they're going to pull the triggers on some things when they think these guys are ready, and they're going to bring them up to do it.
Because Velasquez, much like you, Tommy, May 23rd, 1991, threw a no-hitter. Velasquez has the stuff. I mean, that's guys like you that have the stuff that can come out on one day and just, dominate. You struck out 10 guys, but you walked 7 that day. He seems similar to you, where he could dominate on any given day.
Yeah.
But do you get concerned with the arm problems that he has had to see the durability? Is that going to be a downfall for him?
I mean, it possibly could be. It all depends on the type of injuries you have. The guys come back from. Mine was obviously a little bit different, being shoulder, and he's dealing with I think elbow more. So it all depends on the type of things. I mean, obviously you worry about injuries. I mean, and being a pitcher. I mean, and organizations rolling the dice on guys anyway, being a pitcher. Because it's a very strenuous activity. It's not a natural activity to throw a ball overhanded. So you're trying to do the right things. They watch how much the guys throw as far as pitch count wise these days. They're trying to protect the guys as much as they can to protect the investment. But regardless, guys are going to get hurt, and it's going to happen. So you're hoping that you can find the niche for him that can keep him healthy. And he learns enough about himself, how to stay within himself enough to not to put his body in that situation. And that comes in maturity and growth, and hopefully you get to do that. On my behalf, when it happened to me, mine was just different. Nobody worked harder and tried to work and try to learn and grow to try to prevent injuries than I did. It just wasn't in my cards to do that. But I mean, he does remind me a little bit of myself in that aspect. As far as that one day you go out there. It's not that I walk a lot of guys all the time. I think it's just some of those days you get out of whack a little bit. Like you say, the no hitter, I walk 7. I probably walked 3 guys. The other 4 guys I didn't give into with 3-2 counts. And I was winning a 1-0 ball game late in the ball game. I wasn't giving into that guy, so to give him a cookie to hit either. Yeah. I was trying to make my pitch, and I just missed. It wasn't like I was all over the place on those 4 guys either. It was right there. That's just the way it is.
Tommy Greene threw the no-hitter against the Montreal Expos, 2-0. It's interesting because I don't know if you saw this the other night. ESPN was doing a piece on guys who threw no-hitters and what their mindset was, and just, did you get nervous as it was going on? And some of the pitchers were like, I wasn't nervous, but I looked around and I saw, Scott Brocious was just like terrified, or the one guy from the Angels, Dickie Schofield, was the shortstop. He said, man, he came up to me and said, don't hit the ball. What was that day like when you were in the middle of that?
I'll tell you what, it was a getaway day in Montreal, sort of like the game they're going to be playing tomorrow in Miami. It was like a 12 o'clock getaway day, and we had the B squad playing, so to speak, on the field. That's what they called it. And it was one of those games that started out that, it was a good ball game. It was a pitcher's duel to the end. It was just it wasn't really anything hit hard. It was a 1-0 game to the 9th, and we scored an extra run in the top of the 9th. And other than me walking a couple guys, it wasn't a diving play made. They tried to bunt a couple times, but we were played in ready for it, and then trying to bunt on turf, you got to really lay down a good bunt. But it was just one of those days. It kind of worked out right, and it really wasn't any hard. Probably the hardest play made was the last play to me, because I made the last out. It was a one-hopper wallach hit back to me, so off that turf. So I think if it got by me, it was a hit. So I had to make that play.
We're spending some time with Tommy Greene talking about a great no-hitter that he threw way back when, and Harry the K with his emotion. Tommy, when you look at this year's team, do you think Matt Klentak should do something to shake things up before the deadline, or should, when we were talking about Velasquez and spring training and moves that they make and things they do there, does he maybe wait until the offseason to shake up and evaluate a little more what he has before he makes a decision to change or not change?
Well, it's going to. He's going to try to do things if the right opportunity comes up to do things with our ball club. Before the trade deadline, if there's interest in the guys that we had, we got a couple guys. I think the guys were really, could help teams during their pennant, chase, so to speak. In either league, with Howie Kendrick and our guy in the bullpen, a lone all-star, So it's just we're having trouble keeping Kendricks on the field. But when he's out there, the guy's a professional hitter. He can play, he can hit, he can help a ball club. But when you start looking to give away, not give away, but putting together packages and stuff with some of your young guys, you got to really evaluate, what's coming, and our guys ready to do things, what you're getting back, and it's got to be right if you want to get rid of some of your pieces that, so to speak, you were counting on at some point.
Tommy Greene's with us here, the Phillies and the Marlins. Real quick, Nick Williams, young kid, some hype coming up. What do you think of him so far?
You can't do. He's doing everything you could ask him to do, and it's just like anything. It's going to be good to see. The cat and mouse game now. They're learning, the league's learning a little bit about him, how to pitch him, and he's really showing some good. Good signs as far as the way he's hitting. He's staying to the big part of the ballpark. He's staying up the middle and to left center, and that's where all his hits been. Right now, he doesn't have a hit to the pull side, which is, and that's going to be anxious to see if that's how he gets pitched a lot. Is his tendency to roll over those and ground out like he's doing, or can he make the adjustment and do things? We're going to have to see to do that. But right now, he's doing everything you can ask him to do. He's holding his own, playing good defense, and and the thing I like to see is when he does ground out to first base, the first baseman just can't jog over there. There's a leg race over to first base. He's hustling, and that's what I like to see.
Was that last night he hit the grand slam? Was that last night, Petey? I think he hit the grand slam.
That was the last. That was the last
Milwaukee.
day in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2 days ago. Okay, yeah, it was Sunday
Yeah.
then. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to see. That's the second half of baseball seasons, as you mentioned. Guys trying to impress, trying to evaluate, and I'm glad the Phillies have brought him up and have given him an opportunity. And then on the flip side, there was a guy who was in this spot a couple of years ago, Tommy, was Franco, and he's obviously struggled along this year. Should Phillies fans be concerned about him?
Well, I mean, everybody's concerned, but I mean, he shows signs. I mean, his approach. Crookie hit on it the other night. Last night, I mean, his approach at the plate and stuff right up the middle, right off the bat, and we scored the 4 runs. I mean, you can't ask for any better, at bat from him. I mean, that shows you what he can do. Didn't try to do too much, and to get him to buy into that mentality where you don't see that swing that the helmet flies off his head and try to do too much. It's just a mentality I think he needs to get into, and if he doesn't, we're going to have. They're going to put somebody or go find somebody to get it there. I mean, they're giving him all the opportunity in the world. He's got to start trending in the right direction this second half and start putting these at bats more consistently together and start doing that. Because if not, he's going to be playing his way, so to speak, out. And they're giving him every opportunity to do it.
Those Phillies fans voice their concerns usually on Twitter. This is the big question for you, Tommy. When are you going to get the Twitter account so they can tweet to you?
I follow a lot of stuff, man. Yeah, you know the old dog, right? I'm the old dog.
Me too. That's why
I'm the old dog. I like to listen and lay back, and I learn that way. I try not. I do enough talking. I like to listen.
Well, I've got your handle when you're ready. It's going to be at Say to Speak T to Greene, or something like that.
All right, Tommy Greene here on the Sports Bash. He'll be on the TV tonight with Michael Barkan for the Phillies pre- and post-game as the Phillies take on the Miami Marlins. Tommy, good to catch up, pal.
All right, good to see you. Thanks for having me on, guys.